I never thought I'd be here. I used to scroll past posts like this and think, that sucks, but it could never be me. I figured betrayal was something that happened to people who ignored signs, who fought constantly, who married the wrong person. But that's not always how it goes. Sometimes it happens slowly, quietly, in therapy rooms, in text messages, and late nights that don't make sense until it's too late. I'm a 34-year-old guy. I've been married to my wife. I'll call her Rachel, 31F, for just over 7 years. We met young, college friends, turned best friends, turned inseparable. The connection was real from the start. We grew up together, laughed until we cried. We had rough patches like anyone, but we always got through them. It wasn't glamorous, but it was solid. We had routines, Sunday coffee runs, late-night YouTube spirals, road trips with no real destination. She was my home base, my person. I don't have some grand, romantic story to share about our wedding or a perfect honeymoon. What I had was stability, partnership, love that was earned every day, not flashy, but deep. I thought we were in it for life. That started to change about a year ago when Rachel's mom died suddenly. Heart attack, no warning, just one call, and then everything was different. Her mom was her anchor. They talked daily. They were close in a way I never fully understood, but completely respected. After the funeral, Rachel collapsed inward. She wasn't just grieving, she was unrecognizable, detached, numb. She didn't cry much. She just faded. I come home to her sitting on the couch in the same spot for hours, phone untouched, TV off, staring into space like the world had stopped spinning. I tried. I really tried. I brought her meals she didn't eat, rubbed her shoulders when she sat in silence, cleaned the apartment, ran errands, handled bills. I gave her space, then gave her presents, then gave her whatever she asked for. Nothing worked. It was like throwing pebbles into a void and hoping for a splash. After a few weeks, I suggested grief counseling. She brushed it off, said it felt too soon, that no one could possibly get what she was going through. I didn't push. But then, about a month later, a mutual friend recommended someone. Dr. Mark Allen, a therapist her friend had seen for anxiety and loss. He came highly recommended. Soft-spoken, experienced, private practice. His office was about 30 minutes away. When Rachel told me she made an appointment, I was relieved. I thought, okay, this is the start of her healing. In the beginning, therapy seemed like the right call. After a few sessions, she was a little more present. She got out of bed earlier, took showers again, talked a bit more, smiled occasionally. She'd come home from her session saying things like, he really gets it, or it's weird how much I can open up to him. I didn't think anything of it. That's literally the point of therapy. She was grieving and needed support. If Dr. Allen could offer it, then great. Her sessions started weekly, then bi-weekly. Then I started hearing, I'm staying after today to journal, or I just need some time to process things before I come home. Again, I didn't argue. I was just happy she was showing signs of recovery. But small changes started creeping in. She became glued to her phone. At first, it was subtle. A few more texts than usual. Her stepping out to take calls from work more frequently. Her keeping it face down during dinner. Then she started flinching when I entered the room mid-text. Locking her screen quickly. Saying things like, just a friend from my support group. Then came the wardrobe changes. I noticed one day she left the house in makeup and a styled outfit. Jeans, boots, a button-up top she hadn't worn in a year. That caught me off guard. Not because I think grieving people can't dress up, but because she hadn't cared about her appearance in weeks. And she was on a therapy, not dinner. When she came home, she was glowing in a way that felt odd. Like she'd had a good time, not just a hard session. I asked if she'd gone anywhere after. She said no. I'll let go. Another night, I gave her a hug when she walked in and noticed a faint cologne. Not hers. Definitely not mine. Something spicy, unfamiliar. I asked about it, and she shrugged, said it was probably someone from the elevator or a store. That explanation didn't make sense, but I didn't push. I didn't want to be the jealous, paranoid husband. But things kept stacking up. She became more distant. Not hostile, just cold. Blank. Conversations were short. She stopped asking how my day was. We stopped watching shows together. I'd bring up weekend plans, and she'd say she was too tired or not up for it. She'd go straight to bed, sometimes still in her jeans. I brought up the distance one night, gently. Told her I felt like she was drifting away, and I missed her. She got defensive, said I was making her grief about me, that I didn't know what it was like to lose a parent, that therapy was helping her, and I should be glad she was trying it all. I felt small after that conversation, like I crossed a line. So I apologized. I gave her more space. I stopped asking questions. I trusted her. I didn't know I was trusting the wrong person. One night, I cooked dinner and lit candles. Nothing fancy, just spaghetti and wine and one of her mom's favorite records playing. I wanted to reconnect. She came home, glanced at the table for half a second, muttered, thanks, and walked straight into the bedroom. Didn't even touch the food. Didn't say goodnight. I ate alone while the record played in the background. After that, I stopped trying as much. It felt like she wasn't coming back, not emotionally. I still hoped she was just going through a long, complicated process. That eventually she'd soften again. That the woman I loved would come back to me. But the silence kept growing. She stopped initiating physical contact. No hugs, no kisses, no late-night cuddles. Just quiet, routine, occasional eye contact. I didn't realize how far we'd fallen apart until it was already over. And I didn't know it was really over until the night she didn't come home at all. I'll post what happened next in another update. First of all, thank you to everyone who read or responded to my original post. Writing that felt like bleeding in public. I didn't expect people to care, or to relate, or to share their own stories, but a lot of you did. That meant something. So I'm here with the update I promised. It took me some time to piece this together, not just emotionally, but factually. What I'm about to write still doesn't feel real. When I ended the last post, it was the night Rachel didn't come home. That was a Tuesday. She had a 6 p.m. therapy session. She said she might walk after, so I didn't think anything was weird when she wasn't home by 8. By 9, I sent her a "you good?" text. No reply. At 10:15, I called. Straight to voicemail. That's when my stomach dropped. She wasn't the type to go off the grid. Even during fights or tough days, she'd let me know if she needed space. This wasn't like her. By midnight, I called 3 more times. Still nothing. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the couch with her location open on Find My iPhone. Nothing. Location not available. By morning, I called her sister, then her best friend, then her job. No one had heard from her. Her car wasn't in the garage. She was gone. All I got was a single text around 7 a.m. I need time. Please don't try to find me. That was it. No. Imogai. No, I love you. No, we need to talk. Just don't look for me. It didn't take long for the pieces to fall into place. Her cousin called me 2 days later. Apparently, Rachel had confided in her sister that she was in love with someone new. Not just someone, Dr. Mark Allen, her therapist. They've been seeing each other outside of sessions for months. Secret meetups, private calls, a deep emotional connection that apparently grew into something physical. He told her he'd leave his wife, told her she was special, that he'd never felt like this about a client before. It wasn't just betrayal, it was professional misconduct, a violation of every ethical boundary therapists are trained not to cross. She believed it was real. She believed he was real. That's why she left. That's why she ghosted. Because she didn't want to be talked out of it. She thought she was escaping one life for a better one. A man who understood her grief, who saw her in a way I never could. I guess I was just the husband who stood by and watched while she collapsed. Here's where it gets worse. About 3 weeks after she vanished, I got a knock on my door. It was Rachel's sister. Not her. Her sister. She looked tired, angry. She came inside without asking. She handed me a manila envelope, legal paperwork I'd been trying to get her to sign for weeks, and said, "She's at our aunt's. She's not with him anymore. He's gone." I asked what she meant. Apparently, Dr. Allen resigned his license and moved out of state with 0 notice. Left behind his practice, his wife, his clients, and Rachel. Just like that. She told me he packed up everything in the middle of the night and disappeared. Didn't leave a note. Didn't return her texts or calls. Didn't tell her why. He'd promised her a new life. Instead, he bailed the moment things got real. Turns out he'd done this before. Not the full-on running away part, but the emotional manipulation. Flirting with boundaries. Pushing lines. Getting too close to female clients. Rumors had floated around for years. But Rachel didn't know that. She was too deep in it to see clearly. Or maybe she didn't want to. By the time she realized the truth, it was too late. She'd already burned the bridge back. And here's the kicker. After all of that, after cheating, lying, and abandoning me, she had the nerve to call me. It came in the middle of the night. Same number, same voice, different person. She sounded small, like someone deflated. She said, "I messed up." "No, im suri." "No, how are you?" Just that. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I didn't even ask where she was. I just said, "You made your choice." She said, "He's gone. I don't know what to do." I said, "That's not my problem anymore." And then I hung up. She hasn't called again. I'll move forward with the divorce. Since she won't respond to anything legal, I've started the process for default judgment. Her sister is acting as an intermediary, but I'm not waiting around anymore. Not for her to come to her senses. Not for closure. That ship has sailed. I'm not going to lie, this still hurts. I still wake up some mornings wondering how the hell I got here. How a woman I loved and trusted could fall for a man who preyed on her vulnerability. How she could walk away from everything we built for a fantasy that crumbled before it even began. But there's something strangely poetic about it. She abandoned the person who stood by her when she was at her lowest for someone who only loved the version of her he helped create. And when she needed him most, He vanished, just like she did to me. I don't feel satisfaction. I don't feel revenge. I just feel done. If she wants to rebuild her life, she'll have to do it without me. Because I'm finally learning how to rebuild mine. And now, for the update. It's been a few months since my last update. Divorce is almost finalized. I figured that would be the end of it, that once the papers were signed, we'd go our separate ways and never speak again. I was ready for that. I'm still ready for that. But of course, life doesn't move in straight lines, and neither does regret. We're now deep into the legal part of the divorce. After weeks of her ignoring every document, her sister finally convinced her to cooperate. I went through the trouble of filing for a default judgment, but then out of nowhere she decided she wanted to work together amicably. Her words, not mine. To be clear, I don't think Rachel wants to save the marriage. I think she wants to soften how it ends. She knows what she did. She's starting to feel the weight of it. Not just the relationship she destroyed, but how deeply she misjudged the person she left me for. The more I've learned about Dr. Mark Allen, the worse the whole thing looks. His license wasn't just voluntarily resigned. He was under investigation by the state board. Multiple complaints, inappropriate relationships with clients, manipulation. He'd been walking that ethical line for years. Rachel was just the one who finally followed him off the edge. She's not with him anymore. Hasn't heard from him since the night he left town. She admitted that part during our last phone call. It was a short conversation. Awkward. She sounded exhausted, not just sad, worn out like someone dragging their guilt behind them. She said, "I keep trying to write you something that explains it, but I can't make it make sense." I told her, "That's because it doesn't." She cried. I didn't. That moment felt like a turning point for me. Not because it gave me satisfaction. It didn't. But because I realized I don't need anything else from her. Not an apology. Not an explanation. Not closure. She made her choices. She set fire to something we built over 7 years because she believed in a fantasy whispered to her by a man who probably used the same lines on half a dozen women. And now, she's left with the ashes. I think she expected me to leave the door cracked open. That after some time, we can maybe talk. Maybe meet up for coffee. She keeps saying things like, "I know I don't deserve anything from you, but I still care." Or, "If I could take it back, I would." But it's too late for that. There's no version of this where we go back to anything healthy. There's no future where I can trust her again, not even as a friend. Some betrayals aren't things you bounce back from. They just live in the space between you until there's no space left. The papers are nearly done. We had no kids, thankfully. No house to fight over. Just some joint accounts, shared furniture, and memories that don't mean the same thing to either of us anymore. She says she regrets it. I believe her. But regret doesn't change what happened. It doesn't bring back the man I was before all this. It doesn't uncheat, unlie, or undo the months I spent wondering why my wife looked at me like a stranger while secretly falling in love with someone who was paid to listen. So no, I don't hate her. I'm just done trying to understand her. This divorce is the end of our story. At least it is for me. And in some strange way, that's the most peaceful I've felt in a long time.